Side 2 begins with Long Long Way From Home, the shortest song of the album, the third and last single of said album, and co-written between guitarist Mick Jones, saxophonist Ian MacDonald, and lead vocalist Lou Gramm. With some hard-rocking guitars as well as a bit of a clavinet from Al Greenwood, this song kicks things back up to speed as Lou sings about leaving a small hometown for the Big Apple in decay, New York City, declaring it to be his destiny. Matter of fact, the reason he went there is so he can get himself the latest DLC for that Bungie Destiny video game. However, as soon as he makes it there, he starts to feel a bit lonely inside, even with a crowd of millions of faces. Sometimes the grass, or apple in this case, is greener in another side, even in Central Park. Apparently, according to Lou himself, the lyrics are somewhat autobiographical, inspired by his travels to the big NYC and his personal experiences there. Now, I've never been to New York City myself, or the state of New York for that matter, so I don't know if this song does that place justice or not, but it does kind of make me curious enough to consider. Then we get a fantastic saxophone solo from Ian MacDonald, and it's about time too. It's a shame he didn't stick around with the band after Head Games. He would have added so much to the band, and he already had. The song itself reminds me a bit of Mama Belle by ELO, especially with its riff and chord progression. Not necessarily an exact copy or anything, just something familiar. Plus, it also seems like a blueprint prototype for a particular Foreigner song that would come a year later. Double Vision. But that's something for another day. Next is Woman Oh Woman, the other song to have Mick Jones taking over vocal duties. His delivery here reminds me of Jeff Lynne from ELO or even John Lennon, and the music itself even seems reminiscent of the Beatles. Starting off with a good balance between piano, acoustic guitar, and some synthesizers, this ballad seems to be a love song of sorts, with Mick singing about how he searched through the years, wiping away tears just to find the right woman, the right one to love. He then goes on to sing how her love flows like a river to the sea, and asks if the water will cover him too. Assuming it is water and not something else. Otherwise, they'll be needing a lot of tissues to clean up all that afterwards. Then an electric guitar and Dennis Elliott's drums kick in to lead us into the chorus, where Mick tells us this woman not to bury him alive, but instead let him feel like he's surviving, like he has the right to survive. For freedom isn't the only right of all sentient beings, but also survival as well. This is another underrated groovy song from Foreigner that deserves more love and enjoyment. I'd honestly say this would have been another potential single, like showing off the more soft rock sides of Foreigner, much like with, say, I Want to Know What Love Is, albeit slightly more proggier rock style with a bit of Beatles and Elton John in there. Then we have At War with the World, another underrated and rocking tune, this time dealing with themes of wars and conflicts, as if the title didn't give that away. Musically and lyrically, this seems like Foreigner's take on something like I Want You / She's So Heavy by the Beatles, or even War by Edwin Starr and the Temptations. Like She's So Heavy, it starts off on a quick enough pace as Lou goes on about how he never had any need for military aid, or nor did he take charge in the Light Brigade. Must have had a weird time at being an army recruit. Actually, as the song goes on, the war and military references seem to be metaphors in a way, allegories of sorts. Especially when he says he's the captain of this body of his, indicating how he's he's in charge of his own body, his own life. So, Lou Gramm's a pro-choice activist. Okay, that's fine. After that, then, he sings about sending fear to the enemy lines, and they're all pointing fingers at him. Turns out they all want Lou to pull each and every one of their fingers, just to see how long he can take the whole same pull my finger gag before going nuts over it. Afterwards, the music slows down a bit and gets a little bit on edge as Lou Gramm sings how he's at war with the world and having to fight to be free before the other members offer backup vocals once again. Again, very much like She's So Heavy. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but still, something of interest, and if so, very good homage. Afterwards, the pace picks back up again as Lou sings the same verse and bridge as before, much like Mick did with the previous song. Then Al Greenwood gets a turn at playing a keyboard solo, sounding as 70s as ever. I love it. Then after one last chorus, we get another sweet guitar solo from Mick Jones, still just as good as the one before. Then eventually the song fades out as Lou Gramm still sings a bit some more. If the world don't love this song, then I'll sure will be at war with it. After that is Full For You Anyway, another acoustic soft rock love ballad where Lou sings about how much he misses his love and is waiting for her to get back soon, safe and sound. The first verse here is very calm and soothing, with Dennis's snare and Ed Gagliardi's bass accompanying it. Then the chorus comes in and the tone raises a bit as Lou admits that he's wrong for some reason, asking how long would he have to pay, and confessing that he's a fool for it anyway. In a way, this could be seen as an expansion and continuation of some of the previous songs here, like a running arc of sorts, how Cold as Ice and The Damage Is Done deal with a breakup, or the result of such, while Feels Like the First Time and Woman Oh Woman deal with finding a new relationship with someone else better. So when Lou says how he's a fool for her, he might mean that he'd do anything for her, having fallen for her and everything. Her love has left a mark on him that will never fade away no matter what may happen. The music does well in capturing that sense of emotion and longing, especially Mick Jones's guitar solos by the end, sounding more high-pitched and twangier this time round. It's honestly a very bittersweet track, and that alone is why I love this song anyway. And so, our album comes to an end with I Need You, the longest track of the album at 5 minutes and 9 seconds, plus co-written once again between Lou and Mick. And it feels like the first time felt like a good enough song to start an album like this, then this one is just as good enough to finish it too. Beginning with some very quiet sounds before rising in volume, revealing to be a guitar riff sounding straight out of classic Led Zeppelin, like Misty Mountain Hop or something. Soon enough, Lou kicks back in, singing how selling your soul ain't the right way of giving. I see he's been given a life lesson from how Spider-Man sold his marriage to the devil just to save his aunt. During this, Ed's bass sounds more funkier than before, which I think works well too, alongside Al's bits of organ here and there. Now, being a 5-minute song with only 2 verses and a simple chorus, you'd imagine there'd be quite some instrumental padding for most of it. But the instrumental sections here really don't bother me one bit at all, especially Mick Jones' guitar solos partway through the song, which almost lasts for like a minute and a half. It's just brilliant as always. And that ongoing chorus of I need you, say you need me too, even when it all fades away by the end, it's just filled to the brim with raw and simple emotion from both Lou and the backup vocals. It's just borderline perfect. And with all said and done, this album still holds up after 45 years. It may not be perfect, it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but if you love that late 70s, early 80s kind of campy, softy, hardish kind of rock vibes, you know, something not too heavy, not too light or cheesy, this is a good place to start. And especially a good place to start when you want to get into a band like Foreigner. Some of the songs here just range from being rockers like Feels Like the First Time and The Damage Is Done, to more soft ballads like Star Rider and Woman Oh Woman. Is honestly it's pretty much a very decent album. Some may see it as a product of its time, but it's a very good product of its time. Especially around the year punk rock was starting to get big, so this was something that kind of stuck out from the crowd a bit. And honestly, if it weren't for something like this, we would never have classic great albums like Agent Portraiture and, well, I Want to Know What Love Is, or I've Been Waiting for a Girl Like You from the 4 album. If it weren't for this, we wouldn't have those. And as we speak, it's been about 12 to 13 years since their most recent studio album, 2009's Can't Slow Down, which itself came out about 15 years after Mr. Moonlight in 1994. Honestly, I'd be surprised if they don't do another comeback album in like 2024 or something. But with it getting closer, we'll see about that. But for this though, classic album, great start to a underrated band, and I still highly recommend it. Next time, we look at another eponymous debut album by another supergroup of sorts. And what group may this be? Only time will tell, for it will be the heat of the moment.